So April is Fair Housing Month, and this is the month that we commemorate fair housing in our nation and really commemorate the path towards creating fair housing, because fair housing doesn't exist in our communities as it should. We've come a long way since the Civil Rights Bill of 1866, and certainly since the Fair Housing Act of 1968, and all of the legislation that has been passed in our country over the years. But I'll tell you, unless we change the hearts and minds of people, then we're not going to arrive where we really need to be. Because at the end of the day, laws and policies are fantastic. We need them, but we've got to get to hearts and minds, because people are what makes the difference in terms of creating equitable opportunities for all of us in our communities. You know, going back to the Fair Housing Act, which was passed in 1968, we know that that prohibited discrimination based on religion, national origin, color, and race. Those were the four original protected classes from the Fair Housing Act. In 1974, the Housing and Community Development Act was passed to include, which amended the Fair Housing Act to include sex as a protected class. We're talking about 1974. It wasn't until 1974 that men and women both had the opportunity to achieve home ownership and not be denied housing based on gender. And then it was in 1988. 1988, folks. It wasn't until 1988 where we saw the Fair Housing Act amended to include familial status and disability. 1988, it was perfectly legal for someone to say, I don't want to rent this apartment to anybody that has kids, or I don't want to rent my place to somebody that's in a wheelchair. They're going to scratch up my walls. Wow, that was perfectly legal in 1988 up until the passage of the Fair Housing Amendments Act. Now, I have the honor to serve as president of the board of directors for the Metropolitan St. Louis Equal Housing Opportunity Council, and what I'll share with you is that today the number one complaint that comes across our desk in terms of discriminatory practices deals with accessibility and disability. So that's something that we really have to work together to create better outcomes within our communities as a result of. Number two is race, by the way. So yes, we have come a long way, but we still have so much further to go. So I hope that you'll work with me to make sure that we are doing all that we can in our communities to play our part in advancing fair housing for all.